Hello everyone. So we're going to practice a few knots here, just some simple basic ones that you can use for hammocks and other stuff. So first one is just a real simple bowline at the end. So it's not your traditional bowline, but it's just taking your stuff and tying it around each other and making a little loop that stays by itself. Traditional one, typically you've got the hole, and you got the rabbit coming up through the hole, around the tree, back into the hole, and then that usually you pull it. That makes an adjustable knot. If I did it right. There we go. So these are traditional bowline. But like I said, this other one is just your traditional kind of knot. I call it like a bowline, but it's a fixed one. It's not an adjustable one. But anyways, you can use these on like the ends of ropes, so that if you want to, wrap around a tree or something, you could basically run your line through, and you could act like you're tying up to the end of a tree. I'll show you that in a little bit, and show you another one here. So this next one is what I call like a modified Beckett hitch. So you make a loop and you kind of cross the rope on itself, and then you basically you put it down on whatever line you got, and then you pull that line on through. So then what you can do with that is, if you've got a stick or something, or a tent peg or something like that, you can actually hitch around that. So let's pretend this is a tent stake. So you can actually have that line wrapped onto your tent stake, and just pull out your tent stake wherever you need it, and then that way that would go up to whatever your tent or your tarp or whatever, and then this would be stuck down in the ground. Pretend it's a tent stake, and you can just pull it taut, put the stake in the ground, and voila, you can put that anywhere on the rope. Other neat thing too, like you see here with the stick, there's a hammock suspension that uses a Beckett hitch loop that you can do with an actual strap. It does similar thing, and you can actually use a toggle. But one thing you can do with like a stick like this is, if you did a loop around a tree using like that bowline to start it, and then you run around the tree, you make your little Beckett hitch loop, and then you pull your end of your line through. So basically then what you could do, I'll show you in a little bit in a tree, you can make this hang off the tree. So you can basically hang like your backpack off of something like that, so you can keep your bags and stuff off the ground at night. Same way with a food bag or whatever, you can use it to hang whatever on there. But I'll show you a couple other things too when we get out to the hammock. So this knot I also used for whenever I was doing my shock cord loops. So I would make one somewhere in the line, and then grab the other end of the line here. So you basically then have your other end of the line, and you'd have your shock cord loop or whatever going through. Let's pretend that's shock cord for a minute, and you could just tie into it, and then you would have a separate parallel loop of shock cord next to your line, that whenever your tarp changes you know, you'd have a shock cord line that's taut, and you'll see what I mean in a minute. But that way it's kind of like an auto tensioner, so you can lock a line into another line that way as well. So and then there's another knot that we use called a trucker's hitch. Sometimes you can use a modified trucker's hitch. I'll show that here in a moment. Okay, so pretend basically that you've got a line coming from another tree, and now you're running out to a tree for the second tree that you're running onto, and you're wanting to tauten up that line. So, you know, this other side's tied up some other tree with your bow line, you know, wrapped around and whatnot. Well, on this one, what you would do is you'd make that little Beckett hitch, and let's do this the right way. Pull that through, and you make a little knot with it. So then when you go around your tree, you can pull your line through that and tie it off. That's one way you can do things. But what you do then is you make yourself a loop, and let me think about that. I goofed up. If you can't tie a knot, tie a lot. It's the nice thing about that too, it just comes right out. So let's think about this for a second, Mike. So you make yourself a loop. Okay, so you've got this line. Okay, so now you can pull back around that tree so you can tighten that line up, so you can just make that taut, and then you would pinch that knot, and then at that point that's where you make your little loop, and then you go back through your hole that you made and you pull that. There we go. So you've got this loop now hanging out, and if I would have done it right, I would have more stuff there. But you can basically make another Beckett hitch loop and actually wrap it around this guy, or you can do a double and come back through and tie off another one. So that's one way you can do it. Other people have tried where they do their hitch knots. Sometimes they'll wrap around twice when they do stuff. But anywho, learning a lot of these. It takes a lot of practice. Still get my feet wet with them, but putting them in practice, and I'll show you what we got out at the hammock. Got a little fire going tonight. So we're gonna go out to the hammock. So this is my humble little abode. So you can see I got guy lines staked out. I've got a trekking pole here so I can raise one side of the tarp up a little more, like a porch mode entry. And you can do that on both sides. Just did it on one just to be able to get in a little easier. And it also allows a little bit of a slope, so if you get any rain, that the rain can slope off. I've got this tarp pitched fairly wide, so it's not like a real tight, steep type of pitch. But a few of the things I'll show you here. So at the top of this, I got the D-ring, and so we just had one of those regular fixed bow knots and ran the line up through it and then ran it back down. Now here, the black piece is the shock cord. And then, so if I had this, you know, where it's stretched, you could see that yellow line can slack, but that shock cord stays in tension. And so that way if you got wind or a little change of shrinkage stretchage on your tarp material, which can happen with nylon and whatnot. It'll keep this line in tension. And then, so down here at the end, I've got the Beckett hitch wrapped around. So like say you just pick anywhere in a line, you just pull out, make that little loop, and you got it. So up here at the tree line, this is what I was trying to tell you guys about the trucker's hitch. So this is a little better one that I've got. You can see the big loop, and I actually wrapped another loop around it from the excess so I could lock it in place. But the orange line is the tarp ridgeline, and then the green strap is the hammock strap. So usually you can use straps, ropes, whatever for hammocks. Straps are usually better, they don't damage the tree, and a lot of state parks and stuff won't let you even use rope if it's hanging a lot of weight on it, like a hammock. So the strap, you can either get a webbed one like this, where it's got individual little loops in there, you know, and it's tied off, and you can just hook onto it, and then you just loop it through up there. Or you can get a carabiner, latch on, you can get other bling to put on there. There's options. When you get to the tarp usually will have some sort of ring on it, and I've got a little carabiner here, and I've got a prusik knot. So prusik knot is just basically you make a loop, and then you just kind of feed the loop through itself a few times, wrap it through over that cord, and then whenever you have something on here, it'll cinch that onto the line, so you can actually slide this knot up and down the line to tighten or loosen this tarp, so you can move this tarp and center it wherever you want. Now this tarp also has some doors on it, on the ends, and it's just to give a little bit of rain protection. This is like a half door, and you can get ones that have longer ones, but there too, just took both of the D-rings, wrapped the loop, the line through the loop, and then just ran it down to a stake. On this one, I didn't really need it because I'm pitched so wide, but if I was real narrow, you had a bridge hammock or something inside, you wanted to open things up, you can use either a trekking pole or these little poles that I got, and you can run it either over or under the ridge line up there. But basically, you start off with just a regular fixed loop, you run your line through it, and then on this other end, you've got an adjustable taut line hitch. So you can actually move the position of this knot up and down to make this loop smaller or bigger, depending on how much tension you want. Use that a lot of times for regular tents. If you're doing, adjustable, guyout lines, you'd use those, to tighten everything up. Since I'm using the Beckett hitch and the shot cord on this setup, I didn't do taut lines on the pull outs on this, but on something like this, you can use them. So down here on the other tree, the other end of the hammock, we've just got a simple Beckett hitch knot that I just ran the line through that loop. Like I said, at the end of my excess, I also had my fixed bow line. Now you can use that and just run the line through it and run it out. Just depends how you want to do it, how much slack you want at the end and everything too. I said the hammock here, tarp's fairly wide inside, so if you had it really tight to the ground, you could use the spreader bars to widen it out a little more, but since I already have it wide in the first place, it really doesn't do much right now for me. So this hammock has an underquilt, kind of keeps your underside warm. 60 degrees and cooler, you usually need them. If it's 80 degrees at night, you're probably not going to need it that much. This is personal preference. And they just got a little bit of shot cord and stuff on them. And it runs up to a little carabiner, S-beaner up here on the end of this loop. A little continuous loop at the end of your hammock. And there's a carabiner. So I'm hooking from the hammock loop to carabiner up to the webbing for the strap that goes around the tree. So here in the hammock, I've got an orange top quilt that you can use, kind of like a sleeping bag, but it doesn't have a bottom to it, so it's open more like a quilt. And it's got a sewn-in foot box and that, so you know, keeps feet warm and everything, but you can put it on, take it off, whatnot. And I got a little pillow, you can't really see it right now, that, here we go, somewhere in there, I got a pillow that attaches, yeah, there's the gray pillow. It's got a little piece of shot cord and it goes up to a loop up at the end. So in there, you know, you can have a nice little pillow. You sleep diagonally in these, so you have a flat lay as opposed to laying like a banana. This orange line up here at the top, this is your hammock ridgeline. Those are usually attached by the factory unless you make your own hammock, but those are usually attached in, looped in up there, and then they have attached bug screen and stuff on this, keep all the bugs out. But this is usually about 83% of the length of the overall hammock material. So if you have like an 11-foot hammock, you're whatever, 83% of that, I don't know, 9 foot something, whatever it is. So this basically just keeps your hammock in the right shape for a good lay. And other things I got in here, I got like a little ridgeline organizer that says Velcroed on, so I just got some junk in there. I got a little fan and little cell phone hook that I put on the line so I can clip my cell phone on there, watch movies or whatnot. So that's basically the underside of this. So one other thing about these straps, depending on what you use like your thumb and finger, and mine's not 100% perfect, but you ideally want to try to get about 30-degree angle with the ground for how you hang this, and that way you get a good hang for what you're doing. That's a good rule of thumb. Okay, so what I'm doing here is to show you that, you know, I had a fixed loop at the end here. I just wrapped my line through it. You know, like I said, you could use that for just starting off a ridge line or whatnot. Or in this case, what we're going to do is take this and we're going to make a loop. If I can do this one-handed. We're going to make the loop and run it over the line. Come on, Mike. Can't tie a knot, tie a lot. Okay, so I just wanted to show you. You got that line. What I did was I made a loop and then I ran the line up through itself. And that way you can make a little loop there, and then you can take like a tree twig or something here. Get this on right. And so you can run a line through that Beckett hitch knot like you would with your stakes and all that. And then, like I said, if you had a, you know, bag or anything you wanted to just hang off of that, just the weight of that keeps it tight to the tree, and well, you got a place to hang everything off the ground if you want. Likewise, you can use similar knots when you've got Beckett hitch hammock straps and you got a metal toggle or whatnot. There's various things out there you can do. It's all fun. Just be sure to practice. It's the easiest way to do it. So the last thing is just some creature comforts that you can have near your hammock. You could have a little side table. And make ones that actually have, you know, like a little pole that sticks in the ground, a little tabletop sticks on top. Or you can just get your traditional stuff. That way you got an area you can put your shoes up off the ground. You have a little lantern or something, throw your water bottle there if you don't have a ridgeline organizer. Got a little thermocell mosquito repeller in there, so you know, little things make it more cozy. Throw your shoes up there, keep them off of wet ground. Some people have like a piece of plastic or Tyvek that they put on the ground, put their shoes and stuff on, but if you don't want a bunch of bugs or whatnot crawling in there, you can put it up on a table. And along with the underquilt, you can get underquilt protectors if it's raining too much that just go around them. And you can also get, similar to how it straps onto the ends, a little gear hammock that rides right next to, alongside your hammock. And so if you got your backpack or whatever and you don't want to hang it off a tree, you want to keep it under your tarp or whatnot off the ground, you could actually put in a gear hammock and just let it ride up off the ground if you want to access the stuff. So hopefully you learned a little bit from this. Like I said, still learning the knots. Just practice, practice, practice. As I say, if you can't tie a knot, tie a lot. Eventually you'll get enough, repetitive memory, and you'll figure out, okay, I need to go this way versus that way, and figure it out. But have fun. Don't be afraid to try things. Don't be afraid to learn. That's how you grow, and that's how you become better. Have a good one. Thanks for watching.